Welcome, viewers, to another dynamic current offering of your, hopefully, favorite political, social, economic commentary, Insight, brought to you by Octech Solutions and Blissful Blessings Events. I am your host here, Daniel Hayes, with my co-host,
Andrew Blackmer,
here to give you the scoop on what's going on. Let's talk about something a little interesting here. Andrew wrote a story here that you can find on our website about some police dogs and their sniffing.
It was a
prowess.
Supreme Court case, actually.
Yeah.
Florida v. Harris.
Florida v. Harris.
Yeah. It basically involved a guy who was pulled over for some traffic violation of some kind.
Like we all are.
Yeah, well, yeah. The police came around. They used the drug-sniffing dog. The dog signaled that, hey, I found something. The police searched the vehicle, and they found things that could be used to make meth.
Mm-hmm.
Methamphetamine, right?
Right.
But not the actual substance, just the ingredients, right? So it's like finding flour and butter and chocolate, but not
no
brownies.
cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So they, arrest him, and the whole thing goes down. A couple of months later, he gets pulled over again. The dog again sniffs.
So he gets arrested. What happens to him after that? They let him
It's
go?
still in the legal system. It's still
out on bail.
going. Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing.
That sort of thing.
Right. So he gets pulled over again. The dog again says, "Hey, I found something." Right.
If I were this guy, I'd drive more carefully when I had meth ingredients
Right.
in
Well,
the car.
this time he has nothing.
Okay.
Nothing in the car. So he challenged, saying both times the dog, one, it was not probable cause to search because it's a dog. It's not, a person. Can't testify in court. Can't cross-examine the witness, quote-unquote witness, right?
Of course.
It's not a machine, so it's not like a lie detector test of some kind.
Or a radar
like
gun.
Right,
Or
exactly.
like this.
So he challenges it on that grounds as well as the grounds that the second time the dog found nothing, right? So it goes all the way up through the Florida Supreme Court, right? The Florida Supreme Court agreed with him. Said these dogs, insofar that you can use them, you have to demonstrate a history of accuracy from these dogs, right? A logbook saying X amount of times he was right, Y amount of times he was wrong, etc.
So we're only using good, accurate dogs that
Precisely.
can test for these sorts of things.
Right. Now, wouldn't you know, goes to the U.S. Supreme Court, and guess what happens?
Overturned.
Of course. Not only overturned, Daniel.
Okay.
12-0.
Yeah, that's a big overturn.
Yeah.
Well, I think because it's not political,
Right.
It's just a man and his dog.
Yeah. And so this Kagan, Elena Kagan, Justice Kagan, right? She said specifically that even if the dog is wrong, the dog really could be right. Because he could be tracing an amount that's too small to see. He could be detecting an amount that was there before but is no longer there. So Kagan said, no, you don't need to worry about recording the logbook of whether the dog is right or wrong.
Because how can you really tell if the dog is right or wrong?
Even when the dog is wrong, the dog is right.
Right.
So, you don't need to know all of this. So, what really the upshot of this, and there's going to be another case in the Supreme Court dealing with drug searches and things, and that's going to be coming up pretty soon, in the next couple of months. But the upshot of this one is that all the police need to search your house or your car is a dog saying, hey, I found something. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
So does the dog actually say that? Do they have talking dogs?
Unfortunately, they are not there yet.
That would be an interesting story for us. Breaking news, talking dogs.
But as you can imagine, there is a lot of worry about this sort of thing in civil rights groups and those who are watchdogs who try to,
No pun intended?
Yeah, no pun intended, right? Civilian groups that like to make sure the police are doing only what they should be. But you can imagine that this kind of thing could be used for
racial
all kinds
profiling and all sorts of things.
Well, and asset forfeiture is a billion-dollar business in this country.
Yeah.
Business in quotes, right? Because they do it, out of the goodness of their hearts, right?
Well, doesn't everybody do everything out of the goodness of their hearts?
So, as you can imagine, if a dog says, hey, there are drugs in this car, you can find your El Camino in lockdown and
On auction.
paying for a sheriff's new pool.
Yeah, we were talking about this question earlier, hey? You know, they gotta find some ways to build up that lost revenue.
Some of these police budgets are secrets. You know, you can't even get it if you're a local government, you know, assemblyman or a board of supervisors in some cases.
Yeah, I think the best advice we can give you is obey traffic laws. Just avoid the dogs altogether.
Best thing about the legal system is to avoid it.
Yeah, I think so. Just try and stay off the grid.
No, innocent or guilty, just you just don't want to deal
Yeah.
with the justice system.
Just keep your nose clean and your car clean as well.
Not just in this country, but I think it's a good rule of law for all countries. You know.
Pretty much. I mean, bribing police officers to pull you over is not as easily done here as in many other places. So we wouldn't advise that.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty big case, and you know, people who don't pay a pension to the Supreme Court,
right?
They should do that.
Yeah. Well, they got a lot of cases to review. Some of them will affect our lives quite a bit. So we've got the dogs out of the way, huh?
Got the dogs out of the way.
Let's talk about this flip-flopping politician we got, Rob Portman, eh?
Wouldn't you know it?
Yeah. A little bit of change of heart there when it comes to gay rights and particularly when it pertains to marriage. What's the deal with that, Andrew?
Well, a congressman, he's a senator from Ohio, Rob Portman. He has been known throughout his career as being very anti-gay rights, very anti-gay marriage specifically. Right? Okay. He's authored bills that denied gay couples in D.C., for example, to adopt. He voted for the 1996 federal ban on gay marriage. So, you know, he's got a long history of principled stand, right? As he would put it, right?
Principle.
Yeah, as he would put it, right?
Because he's a man of principle?
Right. And wouldn't you know what happened?
His principles flew out the window, eh?
His son 2 years ago came out and said he was gay. And as a result, it has caused Senator Portman to have a change of opinion, change of principles perhaps, yes. And he is now in favor of gay marriage.
Because of the importance of his son in the community that he resides over, it is now in the best interest of the people he represents to allow homosexuals to marry each other.
I'm sure that's how he would phrase that.
Right.
Right. Instead of saying, it's convenient for me to now have this opinion, you know.
Right, yeah, but I mean, if he were to do that, then he would be admitting that this was just self-interest and preference of his, which is not what politicians should be doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're elected by the people for the people, huh?
Exactly.
They're doing what's best for the people they represent at all times.
Well, and so now you really...
Sarcasm, people, FYI, in case you didn't catch that.
Well, so now, you know, it's really going to perhaps create some stir for Republicans, conservatives going forward, because they've got some midterm elections coming up in 2014, right? And a presidential election 3 years from now. Oh my goodness, we're talking about it again, right?
Oh wow!
You know,
and we just finished.
Are they going to reverse course on gay marriage for either the midterms or the 2016 election? You know, that's the question going forward, and you know, obviously, if you are in favor of gay marriage, I think you can point out where you think hypocrisy is, while understanding that, you know, you should welcome him as an ally, even if you kind of don't like his reasons for coming to the conclusions that he came to. You at least, you know, want to have one more ally who might break ranks with his own party on this issue.
Because the ends justify the means. They're trying to...
Well, the hope would be that perhaps maybe he's, you know, open-minded enough to maybe think, you know what, maybe there are some issues that I was wrong about that I should reconsider because I was wrong about gay marriage. You know, so if he realizes that he was wrong about that, maybe, and I know we have high hopes here, as high as the moon here, right? Maybe he can be open-minded enough to change his mind on some other things that he might be wrong about.
Well, I feel like with or without him, this ability for homosexuals to marry is gaining quite a bit of momentum. I mean, it's moving state to state, and once you set precedents, it becomes easier and easier.
That's true.
So, you know.
So maybe he's just hopping on the bandwagon
Yeah, rather than being
as it's heading downhill, right?
another brick in the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, there's nothing wrong with going with the flow, jump the sinking ship. If you can't beat him, join him, I suppose. That sort of thing. Doesn't hurt that his son is gay, so why not, eh?
Well, I mean, it would certainly make things more interesting if you couldn't paint the Republicans as anti-gay anymore, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That's
you
what
know?
a lot of pundits, you know, whether people think it's true or not. I mean, you know, reasonable people can have discussions.
We've got these split issues, you know, gay rights, abortion, all that sort of thing, you know, that allows people to lean to one side or the other as opposed to focusing on the other hundreds of policies that these legislators are going to create. But speaking of, and I alluded to it earlier, the policies that these legislators create, in my opinion, legislators elected by the people for the people should be doing what is in the best interest of the people they represent. Whether or not those people they represent voted for them, okay?
Right.
You know, this is not a Democrat, Republican, whatever other party thing. You're governing an area, you're responsible for governing these people and doing what's best for your region.
Sure.
But this doesn't always happen. Let's think about why that doesn't always happen. Any guesses, Andrew?
I have a lot of guesses, I would imagine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
One of my guesses is campaign contributions.
That's a good thing, yeah. That's a big reason, yeah.
Yeah, follow the money, right? That's what they always say. Yeah, so considering that, speaking of Supreme Court cases, it used to be illegal for these politicians to receive funds from unions and corporations, but not anymore.
Right.
The Supreme Court struck that down. So now they're getting all sorts of money. And they say, as long as it doesn't go directly to the campaign, but it always goes directly to the campaign.
Sure.
Or indirectly to the campaign.
Supreme Court case you're talking about is Citizens United.
Right, right. So, what do you have with that, right? You've got people like Mitt Romney, right? $76 million just in last May, you know?
Yeah.
You raised that money, right?
Yeah.
You have all sorts of contributions going to tons of representatives, and
what happened?
What happened?
What happened in the election?
What?
We got the same government we had going in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we had all this money, and it went for naught.
Well, not in all cases. Not in all cases, though. In many cases, especially if you look at local governments and things like that, even school boards, that's one to watch. But it looks like we're almost out of time here. We're going to have to go to break. We are going to come back and talk to you a little bit more about how campaign contributions affect the policymaking of your legislators and perhaps what you can do about it. See you in a moment.